Yo, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing, man? This is your boy Eric G, and I want to welcome y'all to a very special episode of Random Thoughts with Eric G. Tonight we want to talk about something that's really important. We're talking about the upcoming election. I have my good brother Blakely Bakes here. We're gonna discuss what is this election? What's to come for this election? Who is running for this election, and why is it important for you to vote for it as a citizen of Vance County? Before I get started, I got to shout out, man, one of my sponsors. I got to shout out my wife, Nicole's Green. She started her very first plant-based vegan bakery, Coley Vegan Treats. Yes, Coley Vegan Treats, man. She have donuts, cinnamon rolls, banana pudding, strawberry shortcake. She's doing brownies, toasted strudels. Yo, she got it all, y'all. If you want to check her out, go to her website. That's Coley's with an S. Vegan Treats. Go to our website. So, let's get started with the episode. Let me bring in my good brother Blake.
Hey man,
what's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. How you feeling?
Good. Thank you again for having me tonight, man. I appreciate that.
Oh man, it was good, man. I feel like this right here, man. This election is really important to us, and that we need to at least have an understanding of what it's about. So many of us, especially in the Black community, we don't vote in this election.
Now, that is absolutely true.
So before we get started, would you like to tell everybody about yourself first before we get into it?
Well, my name is Blakely Bakes. I reside here in Vance County. I have served on many different committees, commissions, and/or boards. And nonprofit organizations, whether it been when I first started out, I ran for city council. Now, I think Eric, that's been almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but since then and during that time frame, I have served on, I served with the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. I helped and served with the Vance County Arts Council, and I've served in some other various boards, whether it be not mostly nonprofits, but I've served in various capacities, from being, a director of a department, a board member, or just a member, and learning the ins and out of the nonprofit sector. I've done that in between my time as running for city council. When I ran for Ward 4 seat again against Mr. George Day, then I ran for that Ward 4 seat at large against Miss Ferdinand Simmons, and she's now passed away.
Yeah, one of our good teachers. Yes,
absolutely. Taught us mathematics and was very, very good teacher, but she was strict.
Yes.
My God,
yes, she was. Hey, I never forget. I can't forget Miss Ferdinand Simmons. I'm telling you that.
Oh no, we really learned in the class. But yeah, man, that's a little something about me. I'm just a community guy, man. I've served again in different capacities. I have, and let me clearly say this: I'm no longer serving as the Democratic Party chair, but I did serve in that role as well, and I served from that as being from the third vice all the way up to the chair. And then I recently decided not to seek re-election in the last election cycle that we had within the party of Vance County.
Right.
And so just some things about me, man. I'm a community guy. I've been in this community all of my life, most of my life anyway, well over 30 years. And I have just seen the different dynamics of how the political infrastructure is designed here within our city and within our county. Yeah. And so I just think that it's very imperative that I actually can speak from a space or a place where I have been engaged and involved.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your work and what you're doing. I appreciate you even coming on tonight to even to educate the public about what this election means. Before we so let's get into that part. What what is this election? What is this election? Why is it so important?
Well, this is the municipal election.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, that's your city council, pretty much your city elections,
Mm-hmm.
which are actually is a nonpartisan election.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we don't have no primaries.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say that in any election, specifically in North Carolina, we vote every year. Every single year we're voting. It's not a year go by that you're not voting on something in the state of North
Right,
Carolina.
right.
I need people to first and foremost understand that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very, very imperative that
Mm-hmm.
we understand the importance of getting out to vote during our municipal elections and what they call the off years, because people just don't vote in the off years. We talk about people talk about the presidential election, but I think
which a lot of people find a lot of people think that's the only important election we have.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I don't want to be extremely technical tonight. I just want to be very informative. I can be extremely technical when I need to.
I agree. I know.
But I do want to be. I mean, I can use all the nice terminology that we would like to use, but that is not my intentions on coming on tonight. I really just want to speak to the heart of the community, and I want to be very informative. So this won't be something. This is what we won't do. We won't have it being too formal tonight. I'll come back. We'll do another episode. You invite me to come back, and because I am very vested. And I mean, I really am. I am watching this city election as if I am a candidate. Yes, sir, I am. And because personally, let me tell you why. In this particular election, honestly and truthfully, I think that our because of our new voter ID laws and because of the redistricting of maps and all of that is going to come up for 2024 within our state, I think that this municipal election is the start of saving our own lives. I know that may sound extreme, and people will say, "Well, it's not that serious." Oh, yes, it's that serious. I think that if we don't get out and really vote in this election and really hear the platforms of all of the candidates, I really believe that particularly me, our city is in a state of emergency. And I think it is a crisis, a pure crisis will take place if we don't participate in this municipal election. I'm not telling you that this municipal election that every candidate is going to say that. I'm not speaking for no candidate at all. Let me be very clear, because I'm being extremely intentional about my words and my word placement.
Yes, sir.
I ran 10 years ago. And in that 10 years, when I first ran, I think we had a number somewhere along the lines. Do not quote me. I have to be very intentional about what I say.
Right. I'm with it. Go ahead.
On this. But I think it was around about the margin about 15 to maybe 18,000 people that live in the city of Henderson at that particular time. And in that, I think we had less than 1,000 people to come out and vote with a population of 15 to 18,000 people.
But I'm gonna cut you off real quick. I do feel like the reason why I don't think a lot of people vote in these primaries or these municipal elections is because it's not broadcast to us. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Especially in the lower income neighborhoods. It's something that we don't know about, and that's what I'm glad we have this episode right here to get people to know about it, because a lot of the time, all we know is the big election was the presidential election, and that's because it's broadcast on television, it's broadcast on social media, it's broadcast on newspaper, whatever. I do feel that we need to spread the word more about this election, because just to be frank about it, I do feel like a lot of the time this election is only viewed from, I hate to say it, the upper class or more the whiter folks in the neighborhood, in the community.
Okay.
That's why it's only viewed towards them. I do think we need to have this out for the people in neighborhoods like we grew up in to understand what's going on.
Absolutely, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But let me just say this, and clear the air of that, because again, you know me, I'm very direct, I'm very to the point,
Cool.
and I really don't care if people like me or don't.
That's
just, but this is what I want to be extremely clear on. This election is bigger than black and white. I'm telling you, it's bigger than whether the race we are. This is social class economics. Okay, this is this is more so if you the haves versus the have-nots. In the United States alone, I won't give exact numbers tonight, but I believe it's well over 20-something million people that live below whatever the medium income income ratio of their community. So they're living in poverty and living under that means. Eric, I'm telling you, man, this is bigger than that. We have to get people out to vote because, again, in my personal opinion, there is a crisis that is going to take place if we don't put the correct people in office.
That is true.
I'm telling you, I know what a lot of people don't get out to vote, and a lot of people will miss the municipal. But please, I'm begging you to listen to me. Whoever may watch this broadcast after that we've got off of this live stream, I need you to understand the importance of you voting in this municipal election. Listen, your voting rights, your legal rights, everything about a right that you have is on this ballot. And that starts with this municipal election.
So with that said, though, I do feel like, how do we get this word out? How do we continue to move forward and spreading this word out, not just to the urban communities, but you say it's a battle of class. How do we get this word out so people understand? Okay, this is the importance of what we're doing, and how do we make sure that the candidates are held to a higher standard so they can get the word out about voting? Because I think a lot of times most of the votes are from friends. So let's get that out.
Well, let's start. Let's start right here, Eric. First of all, and I've been a candidate, so I've ran. A lot of this is really geared around the fact of popularity, and when we see elections in many different rural areas, it's specifically about people putting out signs and yard signs, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's an election," but we haven't properly prepared. You asked me the question of how we get the vote out. Well, we got to do text blasts. We got to tell our families. We can't make an excuse as to why we can't vote. Hear me when I say it. I believe it. I really continue to say it, that there is a specific crisis. There is a crisis to vote in this municipal election. I believe that it should have been declared that the city is under the state of an emergency. I believe that. But again, that's not going to be publicly declared because there are some people that want it to remain the same status quo of people voting. And let me say this, because I really got to get it out. 64% of this county is African American. African American, excuse me, I can't seem to talk. It's African American. And the truth of the matter is, African Americans don't run nothing in Vance County. Nothing. And people say, "Well, how do you say that, Mr. Bates? We see all of these. African American businesses that are in our community that are thriving well. That's good. That's great. That's a great start. But my question becomes, who's serving on the planning committee? Who's serving on the board of adjustments? Who's serving on our parks and recreation? Who's serving in all of these other committees that are vacant in our city that give voice and give direction to the to where these particular departments and where these where our city leadership aligns to lead the constituents of our county. And please pardon my voice because I'm very hoarse.
Yeah, I understand. Go ahead.
But we have to really get out in the community and engage. Again, this election is not me putting black against white or or Latinos against black and white or whatever racial divide that that is going on. It is really to say that we must take an intentional approach strategically with the right strategy to make sure that we get out to vote and make sure people know the platform of the people that are running, not just these yard signs, not just a piece of paper being passed to you as a pawn or someone that is not paying attention and say, oh, well, I'm gonna just go vote for them because they gave me a piece of paper. No, that's not the case.
So what do we say before we can get into really like what is on this ballot? What do we say about people who feel that, okay, what's the purpose of me even voting? Because it's not going to benefit us. That's something that has been said in the presidential election and something else has been said in the local elections. What do we say to those people?
Eric, I ran into some people recently, and I promise you, this has made me so upset, very upset. People say, well, I don't vote. I've never voted. I don't vote because my vote don't matter. Well, the truth of the matter is your vote does make a difference. We've been hearing that. People have died for people to vote. People have fought long and hard to have voting rights. And then people take lightly of the situation you being able to go vote again. I think that people don't engage enough. When you're engaging into the political infrastructure, you then understand how government works. And it's very imperative that we understand what guides government. We look at it as just one state. City council, when I'm saying city council, I'm talking about the legislative branch of government for our local city. They make the decisions, not the mayor. The city county representatives that we have properly and duly elected.
Got you. I got you. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. I'm going to let you finish.
In order for us to get that word out, people have to become engaged. People have to become just tired. Just enough is enough. You got to be tired of having nothing. Some people are just so comfortable having nothing, living off of government, living off of the EBT system. They just want to live off nothing. It's sad.
I got you, bro. I got you. So my thing is, so let's get into the actual election this year. What are some of the office that's been running people running for this season?
Okay, if you want to get into the specifics of that, I can help you right here. For the city of Henderson mayoral race, we're going to have Mr. Greg Eltridge, who's running for mayor, Sarah Coffey, Melissa Elliott, and Jason Spriggs all are seeking election for mayor. They are all seeking, and I will not be speaking on anyone's behalf. I'm just giving information.
Got you.
And maybe there's something that we can get recorded or invited to a platform to have each one of them come to speak about their platform. We can do that as well.
Oh yeah.
If they decide to come.
And that's the question is a lot of them do not want to speak to the public, and that's another problem that we have in this community.
Well, the public got to hold the representatives accountable. They represent you. At the end of the day and at the start of the next, every elected official represents its community. They cannot get there without due process of them being able to go through the electoral process. And that's why voting is important because these same people that we vote to the city council, to our county commissioners, to our legislation, as our representative to Congress. Guess what? These are the people that help appoint people to some of these boards and commissions and things that I was talking about earlier. They get appointed. These are the powers that comes with that office. And so we have to understand that they are representing the city, not their personal interests. But again, residents are not being able to hold accountable those representatives. How many city council meetings have people gone to? Do they even know when they meet?
Boom. But right there, but my thing, if in that point right there, we need to have that out more for people to understand. A lot of people, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, the fact that if I didn't have my organization where I work with the kids, and I didn't have the organization, I would have never knew that. Okay, we meet once or twice a month for the city council meetings. You know what I'm saying? Sir. A lot of that is not put out there. And then when you get there, a lot of the representation for, and I'm going to use the black and white, a lot of representation for the black community is not there. So we need to have that information put out there so we will have the representation.
Well, at the same time, we have to be at the table. Again, we have to be engaged. And now this is what I do understand, that most people are working between the hours of 8 and 5.
True.
So you can't be engaged in some of those things. And some things are strategically and systematically in place so people don't engage.
I'll agree with that.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute as we get to this information that I'm going to deliver.
Got you. So what other parties we have?
The next seat that I want to talk about that we have is for the first ward seat. And the candidates that are in the first ward seat are Geraldine Champion, Clementine Hunter, Corey Pearson, and Samaya Cruz.
Gotcha.
That's in the first ward seat. The second ward seat will be Miss Janice Ward, Samuel Seifert, and Mike Rainey. In the third ward seat will be Michael Venable, Michelle Horner-Wood, Corey H. Franklin. In the fourth ward at large seat, which is the entire city, when I'm talking about first ward, that's a specific part of the city. So the fourth ward seat at large, it would be Miss Laura Durham, Tammy Walker, and Mr. George Day is seeking another seat. I ran against him years ago. And then we have the town of Kittrell. There was no one to challenge the current mayor, Jerry Joyner. Then you have the 3 council seats, Susan Pulley, Robert Tunstall, Mary Jo Floyd. Then we have...
So, let me cut you off real quick.
Yes,
so there's a mayor for Kittrell and a mayor for Henderson, or
yes,
would they be off all? Okay.
Yes, that seat it's set up as a town. And the infrastructure of government. So there's a mayor in the town of Kittrell, and there's a mayor in the town of Middleburg.
Middleburg, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so we have Mr. Ray Bullock, who served in that capacity, is running again for the mayor seat there. Then we have Ms. Hazel Bassett, Shirley Bullock, and Mamie Turner. Those specific elections would take place I believe, in the month of November, because we have our municipal city elections in October, and then we'll have our town elections in the month of November. Yes, sir.
Okay. So go ahead. What's the next information you have? Sorry.
This is informative, but we need to understand the platform of what these individuals have done. And let me say this, and I really have to do this. What people don't put their money into, they don't value.
Okay.
And because of that, we have to reassess our priorities.
Okay.
And for many low-income communities, their only value is, I got to have a job. I got to have a roof over my head. I got to feed my children. I have to do the basic necessities of life. Well, at the end of the day, everybody's got to do that.
That's true.
Okay,
That's true.
So if that's your excuse for not participating, get another one. And again, if you don't like what I said and like to come talk to me, you can find me on social media. And if you would like, I'm going to give my contact at the end. You can call me directly.
But I'd rather for you to put it in your viewpoint for what you're doing. You know me. I like for you to keep it real. So my thing is, we done ran down who's running for each seat.
Yes, sir.
Can you briefly, quickly, if you can you break down what does each ward represents? Or which area of Vance County?
Okay, I would have to. That's a great question. I think specifically, I would love to show that on another live because I think that requires me to show you.
Gotcha.
Better than tell you. I know the areas. Ward 1 would be specifically over by where the old bus station used to be, Beckford Drive, Andrews. Well, no, not Andrews. Well, no, coming back from Beckford Drive, West Andrews Avenue, over by Happy Hill and King Johnson and
so from Beckford Drive to Rock Spring Street would be basically what
a lot of that area will be Ward 1. Yes, sir.
Got you.
And specifically over in Ward number 2, that's more so like near no, this Ward 3. Ward 3 is Ward 2 is over by Dabney Drive. That's what I had to think of.
Gotcha.
Ward 3, that's at large seat, so the whole city can vote for that. But most of that, if you break down the ward of that, that's near Flint Hill.
Got you.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that a lot of those areas, which to me are the biggest, would take the biggest hit from this election to me. Which would be the Flint Hill area, the West End area, Mobile, which would take the biggest hit because a lot of times, a lot of people don't know where they're voting for and what they can do for the city. And I do think that in that area, a lot of times we face a lot of gentrification. We face a lot of people just shutting that area down because it doesn't really matter. You know, we need more people to understand what's going on in that neighborhood, in their neighborhoods.
Well, and you mentioned gentrification. Let me say, we haven't seen gentrification like it's gonna come if we miss this election. I'm telling you right now. I say it all the time. People better not miss this election.
So, question is,
that's a fact.
So, question, because this has been going back and forth a lot. Gentrification itself. Do we feel like is it a positive thing for the community? Could be a negative thing for the community? I know a lot of people speak on it's a negative thing because it's taking away, it's pushing out the black people, pushing out the low income people, and bringing in high money people, and increasing the value of the town. Do we feel like gentrification is going to improve Vance County or decline Vance County?
Depending on the perspective of how you view it, and that's more so. If you're looking from a business standpoint, you're looking at gentrification where we want to increase tax revenue. And you have to understand that government, there's an old saying that where there is no taxation, there is no representation.
Right.
And so the government is always looking at how we can increase tax base. And I'm not putting this on one individual, but taxes run the government at any level. So when your tax base is affected, so is the operational component. Most people don't even read the budget, let alone understanding a tax base. And then at the same time, I think we're statistically 85 to 90%, I would give an opinionated guess at, is renting homes in Vance County. You understand?
That is true. That is true.
People within the county and the city renting a house, and there is no primary home ownership. So the perception of how the individual look at home ownership is like, well, I can't afford it, I got to rent. And then you have what I talked about 10 years ago that we're facing right now, was the same thing about dilapidated structures of housing. Right. I talked about this 10 years ago.
Explain that for everybody.
Okay. We have 10 years ago, we had many houses that looked just horrible in the community. They was, ceilings falling in. I'm not going to use all the terminologies tonight because I really want people to understand.
Yeah.
The ceilings were falling in. Houses was just making the community look bad. In the last over 10 years, I know for a fact we done tore down. I'll say about 500 houses. And that's, I've said it back then, and I said it today. It's still the best decision to make in that legislative decision when government made it. I wish I could find my paper, but I can't see. I didn't prepare for that one. But I got a list of housing. I mean, I really love to show you. Well, that's where people lose their housing in not paying the taxes, and they're just sitting there and just making the community devalue. Just like a house can appreciate, it can depreciate too.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
And so over the last 10 years, those things have happened. And so we don't have, people not paying and buying the city. The city's job is not to go and just reinvest into those properties. That's not their responsibility. They got to get people to reinvest in them. So I talked about that. And some of these landlords and people that you're renting houses from, I'm gonna be so nice on your live tonight.
No, I'd rather you to say it. I'd rather you keep it real because I think that a lot of people don't understand that this is a serious fact. This is a serious matter. We need to know what's really going on, and if you're going to express it.
I just think sometimes we're not holding accountable some of the business owners. We're not looking at the landlord tenant laws. And I get it that people, they messed up their credit. They can't get a house. But there are a lot of initiatives and a lot of ways that people can become homeowners. I am definitely by no means at all in favor. Never have I been and never will I be in favor of people living in bad housing. Never have. I've ran on that 10 years ago. That platform for me will never change because where you have stabilized housing, you develop stabilized communities. And where your community becomes stable, structured, there's a solid foundation to build upon. We can't build any infrastructure unless the foundation is first laid. And so when I'm talking about these houses and these dilapidated structures, and we're having to tear down these houses, then find people to rebuild houses and then rebuild communities, and then you're living in a county that is considered Title I, which is definitely poverty.
Exactly, but my thing is though, I still feel like there's nothing in play for these. I feel like these lower income communities to improve. I do think that a lot of the time they still push us back. We're starting to see slow growth of Black owners though. I do feel like we still see a slow growth of Black homeowners. I'm a Black homeowner. I own 2 houses. Like I said, so we start to see it, and I think this new generation is more preoccupied with home owning. I do think that we can grow. We still got to put that example out there. We still got to have people to speak to these next generations, to speak to this older generation who feel like all hope is lost in a town like Henderson.
No, Henderson is, let me just say this. Henderson has always been a diamond in the rough place.
Always.
You got to understand, we sit off of Highway US 1. We sit off of Highway 85. We are a destination of where people can stop through while travel. I think we are strategically 30 to 45 minutes away from the North Carolina state capital, where growth is happening in Wake County by leaps and bounds. Matter of fact, it's growing so much they can't even keep up with it. We remember when we can go down US 1 and all you saw was trees.
That is true.
I remember when we would travel just to have a little fun in Raleigh. To be honest, we got in a car maybe with like $10 worth of gas, maybe 20, went to Raleigh and came back home.
Right. So I'm gonna ask a question real quick because one person sent me this question.
Please,
before we get off the candidates and stuff, for real. One person asked me, what do you, in your personal opinion, and it's not dogging anybody. I want you to be honest with yourself. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. In your personal opinion, what are these candidates doing for this community?
Can I ask another question? I know you don't answer a question. It's what
it is for me.
But my question is, what is the community doing for itself?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, the start of the next, I keep saying this, there has to be engagement, and the community must hold accountable those candidates that are going into office. Listen, it's more of us than it is of them.
That is true.
It is Mr. Spriggs, Miss Ola Thorpe, Mr. Dakey, Miss Elliott, Mr. Rainey, Miss Coffee, Miss Williams, and it's one more gentleman. I really cannot think of his name. He came out of the warehouse. I'm just lost for his name tonight. But it's 8 people on that council, and it was a tie, 4 on each side. The mayor, which currently sits there as Mr. Ellington, would be able to vote to break that tie. But
let me jump in real quick. Now, I get what you're saying. What's the community doing for itself? Which I do think that we should take on our own communities. But what I'm saying is too, we have these people put in place who's trying to represent leadership within these communities, who's trying in this town itself. These people representing, especially in the wards, they represent leadership. Okay, we need these leaders who want our attention. We need them to understand. They need them to represent us. They need to be able to tell us, okay, this is what we can do to improve your neighborhood. Like you said yourself, we need to do a lot of changing. We need people who's in place to be like, look, okay, let's set down a ground plan, a ground rule for how we can make a difference in this county.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
I get that, but at the same time, the people have to become engaged and be involved. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's use this as an example. You know what? There are many parents. If something happened to a parent's child while they were in school, I don't care what they're doing. They're going to drop everything. Oh, that's my child.
Right.
Okay. Right. That's a natural reaction, correct?
Right. That is true.
Okay. So just like it's that state of emergency, oh, I have to help my child. This is where we're at right now politically. We have to hold accountable those we send to represent us. If they don't call you.
My headphones going out for a minute. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. If you
go
out, I'll just switch it out.
Right. If your representatives don't call you, my question is, do you call them? Some of this stuff, Eric, is education. And we have to take education seriously. A lot of this other bickering, I'm not about more so the debate piece of this, because you can debate all day long. The government will put something in a debate and phase that debate for 20 years. What I'm telling the community to do, if you have these people that have been in your community, you haven't talked to them, you haven't seen them, you haven't heard from them, and because they didn't call you, or the fact you didn't pick up the phone to call them, or you didn't know who to call or where to get started. That is a space and place to say, look, I'm here. This is what's going on. I'm working 8 to 5. I can't get there. So that's when you go to your Board of Elections office and see your Board of Elections director. And by the way, we're going to lose ours in the middle of this election because she's going to be leaving on August the 26th. And then there has to be an interim place in the middle of a campaigning season. So that's a whole nother issue. You know what I'm saying? We have to just get out. If I can get 2,000 to 3,000 people out just to say, look, we're going to vote not because of your sign, not because you asked us. What do you stand on?
That's what we need.
How do you represent this community? Because let me help you. And because I can say this, and because I am who I am, and I'm confident in who I am, everything black ain't representing your best interest.
That is true.
And everything white is not racist against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sick of hearing that. Oh, well, we got to vote. We got to do because they're black. No, not just because they're black. What do they stand on?
Right. And I say the same thing even with the presidential election. Now, I don't just vote because who your skin color is, because in that case, then we could have had Ben Carson, and Ben Carson would have been the president. It would be a whole nother shit. But what I'm saying is, we do, and I agree, Carson. I'm sorry, but I do. I'll say again.
Ben Carson is horrible, but okay, I'll leave my personal.
But I agree with you 100% on that. But what I'm saying is, I agree with you saying that as your analogy you use as a parent going to a school for their child. Mm-hmm. But in that same analogy, you have the principal of their school. That principal of the school is supposed to lead that school, lead everybody that's in that school. That's to represent, to me, the mayor of the town. To me, I use that same analogy and saying that's the mayor of the town. That mayor of the town is supposed to set the ground rules for everybody. At least if we can't get to you, like you said, a lot of people working there between that 5 and 8 o'clock hour. We can't get to you. We need whoever the mayor is to set up community events, to set up live events.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
And that's the problem.
But that's not their responsibility. I will say that that's not their responsibility. We have to reinvest. We got listen. We spend so much money on cars, shoes. We spend, and then this is the challenge that I face with that. I go because I walk through the hood. It is what it is with me. You know, you roll up on me wrong, we're gonna have a situation. That is what it is. Oh, you don't. Send it to whoever you want to send it to.
I got you.
But this is what I'm saying. You have the community must take responsibility.
Got you.
The community. It's only 9 people on that council that's representing you. 15,000 people. It may have diminished. I know we lost some people in the city, but that's well over 10,000 people for sure in this city versus 8 people's decision. They cannot do what we don't allow.
That is true.
We are allowing all of this foolishness, allowing it by not attending the meetings, by not going and being properly educated. But to help with that, I think that we need to start having some community workshops, whether it be early in that morning and late in that evening, but people need to invest in that. Anything that you value, you put money behind. You want a better community? Guess what? You're going to look for a better community where better housing is. You want better education? You're trying to find the best school for your child to go to. You want better in your life, period. You do better. Now, if you don't know better, you can't do better. It's an educational problem versus it being a representational problem.
I understand completely. So before we get into anything else, let people know when, I think we said on the episode when me and you had with Miss Lady, Miss Lewis, that when can these people get to these meetings? When are these meetings held? Where are these meetings held? If anybody have any problems, they know how to get there, who they can contact, everything.
Well, let me be very specific here, and I'll give you that information. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
For the city of Henderson, I'm going to be at. I
want to say it's held every other
Monday. Second
Monday.
Monday. So it's every second and fourth Mondays.
City Hall.
At City Hall, yes, sir. I just want to make sure I give the correct information so people will know. Second and fourth Mondays at 6 o'clock p.m. So the next
second and fourth
Mondays. Yesterday, and it's the 28th. I had to look at my schedule. So just being intentional about going to these city council meetings. Now, if you live out in the county, you can't vote in the city. Let's be very honest about that. But I want to be very intentional that I want to get this information here out to the people. And this is your 2023 Municipal Election voter information. I do want to make sure that get out. if you will allow me time to read that quickly.
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing, bro.
So there will be a one-stop voting, which will begin September the 15th through October the 7th for one-stop voting. That's going to be held at the Dr. Andrea L. Harris Operations Center, formerly known as the Henderson Operations Center. And if people don't know what that is, that's where the old Lowe's building used to be. Gotcha. Off of Bedford Drive, which the address is 900 South Bedford Drive, Henderson, North Carolina. Again, that'll start on Thursday, September 21st through Friday, September 22nd, 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. You see where I'm going with this? So,
yeah,
okay. And so then that will run also on Saturdays and Sundays. On Saturdays and Sundays, when most people are off,
gotcha.
The early voting station is closed. How much sense that make? That makes any sense to you?
Not at all.
All right. Let's keep on moving. Monday, September 25th through Friday, September 29th, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. That Saturday and that Sunday, September 30th through October the 1st. Guess what? It's closed. So Monday, October the 2nd through Friday, October the 6th, 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Saturday, October the 7th, the last day for early voting. It's open on a Saturday, and it's open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay. One Saturday out of all those days. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay. But and again, I still feel like that's a way of keeping people out. We said it, like you said, like you said, is we have unintentional and intentionals trying to keep us away. So that is unintentional.
Absolutely. So let me say this let me say this while I'm here, because I'm gonna do this tomorrow. If people will just follow my live, you'll get all this information on my Facebook page. On August the 22nd, I do believe it is August the 22nd, and follow me on that because I'll post it for sure tomorrow. There's going to be a review, and there's going to be the Board of Elections meeting. Let me make sure I'm correct on that date. I believe it's August the 22nd. Give me a second to make sure I'm correct. We're going to have a hearing, and they're going to be talking about whether or not people specifically are living in spaces where they say people are lying about whether or not they live there, just to run for public office. I will not say no names in that regard because I want to let the due process, do what it does.
How do we find that out, though? How do we find information like that?
Oh, yeah. You got to go down to the Board of Elections office. That's down at the old post office building downtown Henderson, where the juvenile, where teen court and all that stuff used to be, right up beside Gateway building downtown. But yeah, these are the things, man. I'm telling you, bro. People, I had a moment. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you, people have to get out. But let me finish my informational.
Do you think?
I want people to know this. On this Vance County Board of Elections, we have the chairperson is James Bangs, Secretary Susan Floyd, board member Catherine, and Director of Vance County Elections Melanie, and Deputy Director Shelley Wood. I'm telling y'all right now, listen, we got 2 seats open that I'm not understanding have not been filled yet by our Board of Elections, and that's going to be with Christy Bell. Personally, my opinion, and I know people are going to say, well, oh, you shouldn't say this. It is what it is. Vance County, along with other counties, should march down to Raleigh and have a conversation with Christine Bell is the executive director. I think her name is Christy Bell. Right. And go down to the State Board of Election and find out and demand why she has not done her due diligence and done her job to get these people assigned to their local Board of Elections. Because there's a lot of things that are happening that I think violates election laws. It's not that people don't want to do things. People just don't know how to do it, Eric.
There we go.
And and they talk about, well, people don't want to vote. People think voting is not important. Well, there are a lot of people that I have met growing up that live in these low income areas, and I walk the streets and I talk to these homeless people, and I help homeless people a lot. I do. I'm not talking about just giving them money just to give them a next fix or to give them money to grab them a piece of chicken. I bring resources to them and I help them. I don't say that publicly to get a pat on my back. I don't say that publicly for people to know what I do. That doesn't matter to me. What I say publicly is we have a growing epidemic of people that just are uneducated. They want to just live how they've been living, staying in Section 8, staying on this EBT lifestyle, having 20 children, selling food stamps. But the people that are having to pay for this are not holding accountable the representatives. I'm sick of it. Enough is enough of them getting by off of just doing their work. And we're gonna do certain things. We're gonna feed the community. We're gonna give out clothes. We're gonna do ABC. The truth of the matter, the hell with all of that. How about we get some properties? How about we get some land? We ain't going. I'm not telling you, we're gonna fight you for reparations. No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you the fact of the matter, people have to come together, buy some land, buy some housing, do some infrastructure. People that got money, excuse me, I'm sorry, that was so improper. People that have money,
there you go.
People that have money, they need to reinvest. Go to your bank. There's a CARES Reinvestment Act. You need to demand your bank to give you money. And oh man, I get so excited.
Come on.
You need to demand your bank to give you money. And if your bank is not willing to give you money, take your money out that bank.
There we go. Come on.
It is not specifically. I'm telling you, I am so sick of this. It's not specifically that I'm talking about black and white. It is about the fact of people being disenfranchised. Hear me and hear me well. We are under a state of emergency. Hear me. They don't have to say it. They don't have to declare it. I'm not blaming specifically a specific person, but as a collective body of government. I know we're building. I know you're seeing more restaurants coming. I know you're seeing some developments. You've seen businesses expand, offer incentivization funds for tax breaks and all of that types of things. But there are small businesses that are still struggling because they're not getting the support. And a lot of even small businesses don't know the educational component of how to properly expand.
Come on.
It's not about you using your money. It's about you tapping into the tax-based money that we all collectively give into. It's not a race battle. Please don't get distracted by the fact of this being black and white. It's not racial. It's social economics.
Well, I do think one thing we need to do, and people need to take really serious to me, we have to buy back our communities. We have to buy back. We have to buy back our community because I look at let's speak on Henderson just itself.
Okay,
we are the biggest realtor or renter where we have is Rogers Group. Okay. And so many people complains about, why are we paying all this money for for something in the worst neighborhoods? Because a lot of people, that's the option we have. We need to buy back our own communities. Absolutely. We need to shape our communities. We need to build up our communities. Whether you're black or white, doesn't matter, but build up your community. Allow people to know, this is our home. When you're at home, you want to feel at home. I don't want to come back into my neighborhood and see that we have the houses I grew up watching is boarded up. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. That's what I don't want to see. I want to be able to buy back my community. And yes, I agree with you saying. You have to find the resources that's out there for us to make that step forward.
Absolutely. Buy back your community is very paramount. God, I wish we got to keep this series going. We got to keep it going because and making sure that we're buying back our community. In order to do that, though, we have to come together. We have to unify as never before. I'm serious. People have to unify doing this municipal. I'm telling you right now, everybody that is at a certain income level, your life is at stake. I'm telling you. You don't got to hear me.
But that's just not a county-wide epidemic. That's a government worldwide, countrywide situation. They're really, low income, we are really phasing out, and they're trying to phase a lot of these local income areas out. We need to have more support with each other.
Just come together. Together. But I'm gonna bring back some people. I'm gonna invite. We need to do something very quickly from another segment, because I know we about at an hour's time, and I promise you, I got another whole hour of information in me.
I know. We're gonna get into it. So before we get off this hour real quick, I want to ask you, because I know what's important to me in this community. So I know a lot of stuff that's important to me. What do you find important to you that we think we need to improve on and change?
In the immediate housing. Okay. To answer your question, in the immediate housing. Okay. And there's two things I want to speak on. One, I want to make this announcement. I really need people to come to the remaining of these city council meetings.
Gotcha.
The rest of the year, but I specifically need us to show up on the 28th. I need us to show up to that city council meeting. I need the city there to hear what's going on, to be educated. I will provide information from our city. I will go up there tomorrow and get it and post it. Right. But I need to get the link where you can jump on the live on the Zoom, and you can watch our city council meeting. You can come in person. I also need people to come. I believe. Let me get that specific date because I know me. I'll get too excited. Right. Let me be very, very intentional about this. Vance County. I really just want to be very intentional about these dates, because it's important that we don't miss these important dates. Mm-hmm. Give me a few moments. I'm gonna be right there. Okay, so here we go. I'm right there. The first and third Tuesday of each month at 4:00. The first and third Tuesday of each month. First and third Tuesday of each month at 4:00 p.m. when most people are at work. I really want to drive that home. The Board of Elections is having a meeting. I don't care what you got to do. I need you to be at the meeting on this on first week. Yeah. I got you. Need us to be at that meeting to make sure that we are properly informed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At that hearing next week, and I'll come back on tomorrow with that. But making sure we're at that hearing, make sure you're at your city council meetings, and getting the issue of housing. We are extremely short in housing. I would say that. I would probably 3,000 houses short.
One thing for me that I feel is important is I think I touched base on when we had the last conversation is the youth. The youth to me is the most important in this city. I think if anybody, we're losing the youth at a high rate.
We are.
We need more structure in this community. We need more places put out for the youth. We need more programs put out there for the youth. Go ahead.
Well, I won't say that we don't have some programs. Again, I think our issue is an educational component, and maybe that's something we need to do on the next segment. At any time between now and on September 15th, I will make myself available to you.
Right.
To properly make sure that this community is informed as what's going on. I want to be that person to make sure that we don't miss stuff, because it's imperative, man. I'm serious.
One thing we do need to do, though, I think that in citywide is we need to have the schools to work. The schools need to step up. A lot of the reason why these kids can't get to these programs or these communities because the schools is not putting in play. Back when we was kids, there was situations where the school offered events. The school offered things for these kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went to art school when I was 10 years old with my little sister because in Rollins had an art school for the kids. During the summertime, they had a music program for the kids. We need more of that in the city because it's real beneficial to this next generation coming up.
Yes, sir. But let me ask you this question. You bring up the students.
Always do.
We're gonna go into a whole another hour, but let me just say this. I really don't want. But listen,
I love the kids, and I worked in the school program.
Let me ask you this question, and we're having a good conversation. But have you taken the time, or have anyone taken the time to hold Dr. Cindy Bennett, who is the Vance County Schools superintendent, accountable for the report cards of our current school systems? When have parents taken the time and looked at our last report cards? Also, have we also taken the time to announce? Hold on, wait a minute. Let me pull it up because I want to make sure that we understand. Hold on, wait. Have we went to the board meetings specifically that they have? Have we looked on the website and gotten those meetings? I mean, it's the month of August. They had a board meeting yesterday. How many people showed up to that board meeting? Then to hold accountable those specific people, I let me think of the name: Gloria White, Randy Oxendine.
There we go. Come on,
Ed Wilson. Hold on. Let me get some more names for you because this is what I want people to understand. Let me think here. Hold on. Let me see the members on this board here. I can't remember all of them off the top. Man, I got so many running through my head.
Yeah, do you think?
Right now. Boy, I just let this come up. How often do people visit the website vcs.k12.nc.us? You have Miss Ruth Hartness, Gloria White, you have Randy Oxendine, you have Dorothy Gooch, Ed Wilson, you have Miss Linda Cobb and Dr. Omega Perry, and then you have the superintendent, Dr. Cindy Bennett, who used to be assistant superintendent over curriculum and stuff like that. How many people are really taking the time to really put in the right perspective?
Come on.
I'm talking to Cindy Bennett. I'm really gonna
say so basically what we need to do is hold these people accountable for what's going on. What's going on in this community?
You gotta hold them accountable. But listen, you can't hold them accountable if parents are not in the PTOs. When I was coming up in school, let me say, my grandfather worked for Vance County School.
He did.
He drove bus. He worked in the cafeteria. He was janitor there. But you know one thing about, never forget my grandfather. Every year, my class, I believe, almost won this. We had that. Remember, we used to have them can drives, food drives.
Oh yeah,
a little piece of party. My grandfather would donate so many cans. I don't even know where the man got them from. But he got so many cans of food, and we won them pizza parties. And he was engaged in what the things of the school at that point was going on. But parents will say, well, we don't have this from our school board, from our school or our principal. I understand you talked about this earlier about principals being the leader and the mayor of their school. But listen, it's not that's bureaucracy. Please understand this. It is the people's job to hold accountable elected officials.
I got you.
Because see, this is what happens. We don't pay attention to the electoral process of this. And because we don't pay attention to the electoral process, it's this same people. Dr. Cindy Bennett is not excluded from this by no means of the imagination. By no means do I exclude or do I give excuse to Dr. Cindy Bennett of her leadership of Vance County Schools. I promise you, I can give a whole synopsis. You could. I really won't give my personal opinion, but again, I need parents to go down there and make a request to speak to the superintendent. Talk to your elected officials. If they want to serve on the board, if they want to advance this community, they're there to hear your concerns, and you must do that. And at the end of the day, Cindy Bennett is nothing but a bureaucrat. She's a hired bureaucrat that was hired by those people that sit on the Board of Education that we elected.
Right.
By
But
all
that's what we need to do from now on. So I want to make sure that we put out here, because we got to wrap it up. We're over an hour. But I want to put it out here.
I got information for hours, but we're not.
I know you do. I know you do. We're gonna keep it up because I think this is really important. I think that we need to, because I do shows about everything, but I think this show is very important to me. And we get a chance. I would love to bring on more people who's in higher power positions to speak. Because like I said, a lot of times people do not know what's going on in the city. A lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know, and we always feel that the man, quote unquote, is holding us down. It's putting,
right. Nobody holding us down. It's improper education. And the fact that the fact of the matter is, Eric, and I'm gonna be done because I promise you, I really feel like I can talk about this. It's not the fact that the man or the woman, and because we don't want to be gender specific or feel like we're discriminating against people because of the legalities. So let me be very intentional.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation, or gender identifications. But anyway, let's just be real about the fact of the matter is that we're talking about these people that are bureaucrats, but we're not holding responsible or accountable those people that are elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my challenge tonight. I promise you, we'll get a prep show ready. I'll have the people that want to participate. But this fight here is not about those that are in bureaucracy positions that can appoint and hire people. Because in the process of politics, there is no law. Now, the law needs to change because anything that's public needs to be represented. The law needs to change, and there need to be more disclosures of how bureaucracy is ran. But you got, a controlled government that don't want to see that anyway. But anyway,
that's Vance County. That's Vance County itself.
That's not just Vance County. That's the state of North Carolina, period.
Now, we're going to get into that. That'll be another conversation. Hey, look, man, let me go ahead and wrap this up, man. But before we can get into it some more, I like to argue about stuff too. But Blake, let everybody know where they can find you at first. And when is the election? So that everybody will know.
Okay, so election is October the 10th. October the 10th. Early voting will begin on September the 15th through October the 7th. But listen, this is what I need. I need for y'all to meet me down at the Board of Elections office on August 22nd. If you can get there by 4 o'clock. This election, your life depends on it. My life depends on it. And one thing I don't gamble with, I don't play Russian roulette with my life.
Got you. Hey, look, man, I appreciate you coming on, speaking about this, because this is really important. I think a lot of people need to learn about this. We will have another segment about this right here coming up in the future, hopefully before election time.
But listen, I hope that you'll consider doing it at least just once or twice a week, and so we can get people going.
If God allow me, and my schedule do too, so we can.
All right, buddy.
Hey, look, man, this is your boy Eric G, man. I want to appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. If you didn't catch the live, it will be replayed on all my social media. It'll be on like I said, both Facebook pages, YouTube. I will have clips on my TikTok and Twitter. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Blake, man. I really do. And yeah, like I always say, everybody, God bless you. Peace.